Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and I thank the member for McEwen for moving this motion, which acknowledges that Australians are experiencing a devastating cost of living crisis. While acknowledging the positive impact of the recent Stage 3 tax cuts, I do want to speak to the other major driver of cost of living stress in my community. Every day, members of the Kooyong community tell me that they are struggling with the cost of electricity and of gas. They don't understand why the price of these necessities has increased so much, and they ask me what can we do to fix this. I tell them this. Australians are paying too much for gas and for electricity because of policy failures in our energy market. I told my constituents that the wholesale price of electricity in Australia is 3 times less than what it was 2 years ago, and that is because of increased rooftop solar and large-scale renewables. But the retailers who are selling us this electricity are still increasing prices. They're doing that because we are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on supporting ageing, unreliable coal-fuelled power stations. But then we're being slugged huge prices during unplanned outages of those coal mines. We're doing this because the spot price of electricity is set by the most expensive type of electricity needed to meet demand in the national electricity market, not the cheapest. Gas is the most expensive form of electricity generation, and it is often the price setter. That drives up our power bills massively. When we revert from renewables to power generated from coal or from gas, we can pay as much as 500 times more for the same electricity. Only 4.8% of Australia's electricity comes from gas, but that electricity is so expensive that it drives our bills up and up and up. Australia is the world's 2nd largest exporter of coal and the 5th largest exporter of gas. We do not have a shortage of gas. We use only 4.2% of our gas production domestically. But Western Australia is the only state with a domestic gas reservation policy. So while the good people of WA enjoy the cheapest gas in the world, more than 80% of the gas from the eastern seaboard of Australia is sold overseas by multinational companies. We pay more for that gas than the people who buy it overseas do. Largely foreign-owned companies are making windfall profits while price gouging Australian customers for our own gas. This is a policy failure.
Sold it for 6 cents, we buy it back for 60
Australia is. Thank you, Member for Kennedy. Australia has 10 facilities for production and export of liquefied natural gas. 6 of those facilities pay no state or federal royalties. The ATO has labelled the oil and gas companies systemic non-payers of tax. The ACCC has found that the LNG industry has exported uncontracted gas in preference to supplying it to Australian markets.
I'll just interrupt the member for a moment. So this private member bill is on tax cuts. Is the member aware of that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I'm just waiting for you to refer to the actual subject of the private member's bill.
I did speak to. I mentioned tax cuts in my first sentence, Deputy Speaker. Thank you. We have been let down by successive federal governments, by the Liberal National Coalition and by its inaction on climate change, and by the Albanese government, which has negotiated a gas price cap which has almost doubled the production cost, effectively anchoring gas prices higher than they need to be. A government which has exempted new gas projects from that price cap. The Albanese government's future gas strategy is a 68-page document about gas, which does not mention once royalties, tax or revenue. Policy failure. Australians are smarter than their own government. We know how to bring electricity prices down. 3 million Australian households have become electricity generators by investing in rooftop solar. The 40% of our power that comes from solar and wind and hydro, however, is being cancelled out by the 60% that is coming from coal and from gas. So when Australians are struggling with high gas and electricity bills this winter, they should remember that those prices are high because Australian governments have allowed virtually unlimited gas exports. They've allowed LNG export companies to price gouge us for our own gas, then to set a price cap which is too high, and then to exempt new gas projects from that cap without a guaranteed increase in our domestic gas supply. Australians should be able to pay their own electricity bills. But for that to be able to happen, the government has to use its power to act on this all-important aspect of the cost of living crisis.